I want you to get through how we can have a different mindset of what the goal of the drawing is. We do different drawings, okay? We can do drawings that are explorative, drawings that are analyzing something, but the ability to take a drawing and let it kind of swing between those, to explore a little more, to get a little more exact with the things we like, to then maybe push those things a little farther and manipulate them as a design process is a very useful thing. So within this hand, yeah, we'll just do it. I'll just draw it. All right. So I was saying if I'm going to try to figure something out, I'm just going to do some center lines, figure out some distances, get proportion of what the angle is. A little simple here. So knuckle. And then let's say the hand's coming down, and I'm going to cut the thumb, something around here. I'm going to start loosely figuring out what is the fingernail, kind of flat here, and just kind of work on it. It's not right. I know I'm not right. I'm letting it just, ooh, there's a kind of a dip in. It's like, I look for anything that's unique. Like what's not what I expect? This is where I'm really getting, I want you to question, don't draw what you think is there. Draw what you're actually seeing. So it's always like, oh, that's surprising. I didn't expect that to do that. Inside. And now, I'm not trying to draw those individual elements right now. I'm trying to just get it correct. And I'm letting myself kind of just work through it around as close as I can get, right? Now, once that's there, this is the part where I'm being very specific with the language I'm asking you to analyze and own the lines with. So we have to take responsibility for every line we draw. Money gets put into every line. The line means something. So what I'm looking for you to do is to actually go, okay, what is, let's say that arc there. What is that arc? Now I tend to have to draw that arc out a little bit before I can start visualizing where the center point of that is, okay? A circle template can help me. For you guys, or for somebody looking at that, I can go, hey, that's about that arc right there. Here's the center point of that arc. Here is where the line, and I'm just gonna do that. Okay, that was that fingernail right there, okay? Kind of work through, I found where that is. Now, I'm also gonna own, do you have just a ruler? This is a, yeah, that's perfect. The square one, I'm not used to using this one, I'm used to using the square one. I want to know, I say define that line. I want to be able to tell somebody exactly how to locate that line. I know where the center point is, and I know where that line ends, and the center point. Where that line ends, and the center point. It's not about drawing a pie wedge. It's not about drawing the circle. I'm fine with that line continuing because I was just visualizing where that arc is. But I'm documenting that arc, okay? Now, as I was going through here, I was looking at that, it kind of rounds up a little bit here. And then it's kind of got there. And I'm kind of seeing all these individual arcs. There seems like there's an arc here, there's kind of a reverse arc, and then there's a small little circle there. So let's say there's 3 arcs just in that one little area. Now, let's just use this really quick. What do I want to see here? Here's the arc, there's the center point, here is the beginning, here's the center, and I'm marking where that one begins and where it ends. Now, if that one rolls directly into this arc, if I know those two are tangent to each other, smooth, then I know at some point if that arc actually ends, it might actually end a little farther. It might end about there. I know that at some point this arc, a little bigger, it's a little bigger. I don't like that, I'm not used to this one. There we go, that one's about right. No, a little bigger. You see how all of a sudden I can find this arc here falls right on that center point. again. Right? And now you know this arc here, type back, I know it's going to fall somewhere on this line. A little smaller. A little smaller. That might be about right. Center point. Again, begins, and where does it end? Now somebody could say, well, I was saying it's not about the pi wedge, because what we're trying to do is say we're giving hierarchy to the drawing. We're defining exactly what's important. What's important to us is this line. We're documenting how we could define that line. There's another arc. There's another. There's straight. It's coming back when things are tangent or not are defined beginning, end, and arc or line. Okay. This is where the video starts to get redundant and annoying. Later, when we're doing things that are not documenting, you might be designing something, and you're trying to get something right, and you could keep drawing it over and over again. But at some point, you start to find what you're liking, and you might say, "Look, I want this line to be rotate and come in." And we need to be able to have some control over it so we can start to refine it to make it more along the lines of what our intent is. Whatever that intent may be later. It might be because it's a beautiful sun path and you want somebody to walk out. It might be a section. It might be the detail or a handrail. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the idea that you have to take responsibility and ownership of it so that you can then modify it to be a little better or not. So that idea of being able to document that to then go, you know what, that arc's not right. I actually want this to be a little flatter. So it's an arc of a bigger circle, and come back and draw it with a more accurate line of what your intent is. Now, the idea that once you've done it with the 4B, you can come back with the ink, you've got all these elements, so you can actually define, I can find it again and say, this is the arc that I want. This is a little bit of a graphic trick, I'll be honest, is that I'm not worried about these lines. Like, yeah, I went past where it started and I went past where it started. But what that's doing is allowing me to define exactly where things begin and end. I'm not worried about just making this line go exactly from where I think it starts to exactly where I think it ends. I let myself go past and mark it. Okay, so in the end, you kind of have three, we have point, a line, we'll get into this a little more. A line is always defined as the line, which has extensions, has endpoints, and an arc, which you're owning where it begins and where it ends. Okay, so if you think of every element in these terms of point, line, and arc, all of a sudden it's not about having to be exact where things end, but really defining exactly where they are by points, by crosshairs. All right? We will use this as a way of kind of going to this exact nature, but then using this detail to kind of fold back into work. This has a certain quality, but so does the exploration. So it's not about this being better, but this having a certain quality to the design, and this having a certain quality to the design. And we use them to explore different ideas, sometimes even compete. Okay?